today we just celebrated a milestone here in Buffalo, New York. We dedicated a building in the name of Arthur O. Eve Economic Development
Center.
Educational Opportunity
Center.
Center in Buffalo. And we are very proud of him, a descendant from Eleuthera. His mom and his grandparents and his family hail from Eleuthera. That's the Gibson Eleuthera. And he is my guest today. Welcome, Cousin Arthur.
Happy to have you to be here in Buffalo.
You know, today was a very important day for you.
That's right.
How does it make you feel when you hear all of those speakers praise you, praise the work you've done over the many years that you've been in politics, and the thousands and thousands of children that you've helped with this educational opportunity program? Tell me about it.
Well, it's a wonderful feeling. I've always had children as my number one priorities because I believe children are our future. If you help the children, you help the future of your community and the future of the families. I just feel so strongly that we've got to do more to help our children. The devil is after our children like nothing I've ever seen before.
Now, what other areas? Tell us about the program. Can you give us an overview of what the program is all about?
Well, the EOC program is helping getting kids who in many cases drop out of school and get them back into to studying and learning again, and then helping them to get into an area where they could be successful, be it college or a training program. It just has so many options to help young people, and many of them go and get into the EOP or HEOP or STEP or C-STEP, Liberty Partnership, Teacher Opportunity Corps. These are all programs that God used us to create, and I feel strongly that if we can channel a child into an education program to improve on his education and his ability to think and to learn, that will help turn that kid into a wonderful individual. And that's what many of the people said today in their way, that God had used us to create an environment and conditions for young people to learn, as well as older people. Because we've had some people come into the program when they're in their 30s or 40s. It had no age limit for your coming in and taking advantage of it.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the STEP program and the C-STEP program. Can you tell us about the STEP program and the C-STEP program? How do those two work together?
STEP is Science Technology Entry Program, STEP. And we had a program working with high school kids, getting them interested in science and technology areas. then we had college step, where we would work with you at a higher level, on a college level, and many of them went on to go into engineering and other technical fields. And so one was an entry high school program, and then the other one was one on a college level.
Okay, now there's also HEOP.
HEOP is Higher Education Opportunity Program.
Okay, what's the difference between the HEOP and the CSTEP?
No, there's the two programs that are similar is EOP for state university, and HEOP was private colleges. New York has about 120 private colleges in the state, and that program was for any child who wanted to go to any of those private colleges, and EOP was for the state university colleges.
Okay. Now, I'm going to get back to all the work that you have done in assembly, of which was kind of spelled out briefly in the presentation today of the naming of the Arthur O.E. Building, Opportunity Educational Center. Let me ask you, you were born in New York City,
Yeah.
and at the age of 4 you moved down to Florida. What was it like, moving from New York City to Florida? What can you give us some idea as to I guess the community of which you live in? Because that was during the height of segregation.
Yeah, but my grandmother and my mother decided to come back to Miami, where they were from. My parents left Miami in the 30s to go to New York City to work, because jobs were more plentiful in New York than they were in Florida. A lot of it had to do with segregation. She and my grandmother decided when I was 4 years of age that they would come back to Miami. They thought the environment was better for raising a child, and so they brought me back to Miami, Florida, and that's where I grew up. We lived in a public housing project called Liberty City, and I just had a lot of good mentors in my church. I'm a firm believer that children need a good Christian upbringing, and that's what I was fortunate in having, a good Christian upbringing. Men in the church mentored me, told me about the life I should live, and that I should stay active in my church. I grew up in the Episcopal Church, St. Agnes Episcopal Church in Miami, Florida. And when I came to Buffalo, I joined St. Philip's Episcopal Church, and I went from the Episcopalian to a Baptist to a non-denominational.
I see. Now let's get back to your education. You are a assemblyman for education. What about your educational background? You went to college.
Yep, on a basketball scholarship.
Okay.
From Miami, Florida. I went to a 2-year college, got an associate's degree, and then later to a 4-year college and got a bachelor's. And that's why I guess when God used me to create EOP and HEOP program, it was for you to go through a bachelor's, but you could go on and get a master's and still get the financial assistance that EOP and HEOP would give you. And I was very proud of that. Very proud. Not stopping a young person or older person who wanted to go on and get a degree higher in the field that they were in.
But tell us about your college days. Where did you go to school? Where did you go to college?
I went to West Virginia State College.
Okay.
That's where I met my wife. I played basketball at West Virginia State.
Okay.
And I was a point guard, and I thought I was pretty good too. And I was there for 3 years, and then I left, and my wife was a year ahead of me, and we got married. We settled back in Buffalo, but Buffalo offered jobs, and there were jobs in the auto industry. And so I came to Buffalo to work in a plant, a Chevrolet plant. And that's where I worked.
Is that where you became interested in politics?
Yeah.
Or what drew you into politics?
Well,
What was the key that drew you there?
I guess I've always been interested in helping people. That's been my number one interest, to help people. And I got involved in the local politics, became a Democratic committeeman within the city. The city was divided into various zones, and in each zone you had Democratic committeemen, and I got very much involved in organizing, and that's been one of my skills also, to organize. I got involved in organizing committeemen to run against the incumbent Democratic Party that I didn't think was doing a good job for our communities. And that's when I got very much involved with the local politics.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I read somewhere where you were awarded the Independent Ward Leadership in Buffalo.
Yeah,
What does that mean?
that's what I mentioned to you about the wards, and I was an independent, one who was independent of the party organization. In every area, you have a Democratic or Republican Party organization, and they normally control their segments of their parties. And I was fighting with the Democratic organization in Buffalo, and we kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger, so that we could designate people for the various office.
in which party is this? Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
Well-
out of that same kind of avenue to do more or to get more for the people, is that when the Puerto Rican Legislative Caucus out of that kind of
Yeah,
atmosphere at that time?
that was my freshman years or second year in the state legislature. Charlie Rangel, who is a well-known congressman today, he and I were freshmen, or he might have been a sophomore, and I was a freshman, and we decided to organize the Black and Puerto Rican Legislative Caucus so that you could take the small numbers, come together, and you were a larger number, and you can have greater impact on the legislature because you had numbers, okay? You had numbers. And so Charlie and I sort of organized, and I was the first chair of the Black and Puerto Rican Legislative Caucus.
Okay, great. So, out of that program, what are some of the programs that you all were able to pass through based on the strength of the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus, Legislative Caucus?
Well, I would say that EOP and HEOP and some of those programs were key in some of the things that we were able to do, but we were active in a number of other areas. We had a tremendous senior citizen program. We had programs in health and education, just a myriad of areas that we would work in. And today there was somebody from Roswell Cancer Institute, and I remember Del Volker was a Republican who was there. He and I got together, and we got $224 million for Roswell to build their hospital. And those are some of the things that if you get some legislators together, you can have a tremendous impact. And that's what we would do for Buffalo. Get legislators together who wanted to help Buffalo. We'd help other communities of legislators who were part of that effort.
Right. I think one of your colleagues from the assembly was there today, and he spoke to that about how he being a Republican and you being a Democrat, how together you were able to accomplish so many things for Buffalo.
Well, the Republicans control the Senate. Democrats control the Assembly. You've got to pass a law in both the Assembly and the Senate. So he would collaborate, we would collaborate together, and he would get the Senate to support what we were doing for Buffalo in the Assembly, okay? And that's where, as I told you, Roswell Cancer Institute was in Buffalo, in my Assembly district, okay? It's one of the top cancer institutes in the state and in the country. He supported our efforts to help Roswell, and that that's some of the things that you can do.
This is Beryl Edgecombe, and my guest is Arthur O. Eve, former Deputy Speaker for the New York State Assembly. Welcome back.
Good to be back.
Eve. Okay. Now let's talk
I'm
about
on it.
as an advocate in this house in the assembly. You have developed several programs. So you have introduced several programs. Let's name some of them: social service, crime prevention, parole reform, daycare, housing, and one of the things that you have introduced here in Buffalo is pre-K. I think just in past since a new mayor came into into being, de Blasio, he's now trying to get kindergarten as something in all of the public schools in New York City, but not pre-K. How were you able to get pre-K passed for Buffalo?
Well, you put in the bill, you have a plan on why it's necessary. You get some colleagues in the Assembly and the Senate, because you have to pass it in both houses. And Buffalo has a major school dropout and a lot of other problems. And every study shows the earlier you can start a child learning, the better they would be in the final analysis.
Now you've had that pre-K in the public schools for a number of years. Have you seen any change in the percentage of dropout in the schools?
Yeah. We've seen the change, but part of the problem with the schools is the quality of teaching, and also the mentoring and the tutoring that the young men get. And if they don't get the proper mentoring and tutoring, many of them will not be able to make it. And I'm pleased to say that we were able to turn around a number of the schools, and one year we got $1 million for the Buffalo school system, and that's in addition to what they would normally get. And that $1 million played a major role in improving the schools. So I just like to do whatever is necessary.
Okay, great. Now let's look at some of the other programs that you have helped, that you have introduced and was very successful. Social service. What were you targeting there in the social service realm? Anything in particular that you were?
Well, social service, like in any other service, is whether or not you get to the people what they need. Okay? And so in many of our efforts in social services and other areas was to try to show the department what they needed to do in order to accomplish certain goals. And I was very pleased with some of our efforts in getting them to sort of change their focus.
Okay. Now, also another program, crime prevention. Now, was there a crime problem here in Buffalo, or was that a crime problem throughout the New York State area?
It's a problem throughout New York State, but again, children are key to that. If you start early enough to work on the children to get them to focus on crime prevention and get the kids who are most likely to get into crime, get them involved in other areas. And then you need to have juvenile detention facilities. Instead of putting the kids in adult prisons, you need to put them in a juvenile facility where you could also educate them and train them so that they can have some skills when they come out of prison. And that was one of our major efforts.
Were you able to bring about some of those changes?
Yes, yes, yes.
You were. Now I know this February I attended the Puerto Rican Black and Puerto Rican Legislative Caucus, and there was a group there that wanted to bring about some additional prison reforms. Now I noticed parole reform was one of your programs.
Yeah.
Looking at the prison reform today, what would you say that changes still need to be done in order to bring about some meaningful change in the prison reform? One of the things that they were focusing on were the older population in the prisons. What do you have to say about the older population?
Well, when you let one out, you're taking a chance, but that's why you try to prepare them to come out so that you'll have some assurance that they will do the right thing. And I don't know. It's you can't come up with enough examples to show you how the inmates will be able to change and to focus on a better quality of life. That's
So you think that they don't have the programs in the prisons that will prepare the prisoner to be able to relocate or to come back into into the community and be a good citizen?
Our Governor Cuomo has talked about training inmates to get college degrees while in prison. And there's been a lot of opposition to that. But I guess he's looked at what would it take to ensure the inmates' success, education, and training in various fields will ensure their success. But there's a lot of public opposition to that idea. But
Okay, staying with the prison system. I think it was during the 1960s, during the Attica riot. The prisoners, after a number of days of a standoff, requested you to come and talk to them. You were the only one that they would talk to. What was it like going into the prison, leaving your family of 5, going there? What did you prepare for your life, and what did you accomplish by going into the prison, into Attica at that time?
well, I was joined by other people. There was Tom Wicker from the New York Times. There was an activist attorney named Bill Kunstler. there were other people who came in as well, and we were all trying to see if we could get some dialogue with the governor, who was in Rockefeller, with the inmates, and that didn't seem to work. And when the governor ordered them to go in and shoot and kill, it was horrible. It was horrible. And time, I didn't know why it was such a urgency to take back the present without talking to the inmates to see what were their requests, what were their needs. That's something I'll never understand.
What their needs?
Well, they had requests for training, treatment, education, but all of that's documented in various reports that have come out on Attica. Then
You were also very much instrumental in that monument in Harlem. That's the Adam Clayton Powell State Office Building. There were two aspects to that plan. One was for a cultural center and also for office building. But the cultural aspect of the plan did not materialize. Only the office component was materialized. Tell us about that program. And there was a standoff that took place under Governor Rockefeller. Tell us about that.
well, as best as I can remember,
Okay.
they needed an office complex there. I think in the final analysis, that was the greatest need, and that's why it was done. You needed to have an office where people could come and get problems solved. Okay? That's what that complex was all about, solving problems and meeting needs.
Which is truly a monument in Harlem today. Let's talk about your path to becoming deputy speaker. How did that come about?
Well, I think the speaker respected our ability to work with the members to get things done. Okay? And I don't know what went in his mind, but I'm sure he thought about what this would mean, not only to our community, but to the prison population. If they could see minorities make up a high percentage of the prison population, and if they could see a person, black or Hispanic, who could move up in the system to deputy speaker. I don't think there was a deputy speaker before. I may have been the first one.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I may have been the first one designated deputy speaker in the assembly, and it became the highest position of any minority in the state legislature.
Yeah, you were also
Chris.
the longest serving
Yeah.
African American to serve in the assembly.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and actually highest ranking. Okay, how?
There it was working with in the Democratic Party because the speaker made that determination, and the speaker has to feel that you'll be a positive element in working with other Democratic committee legislators to get things done. And the speaker at the time felt that I could make a positive contribution to making things happen. Okay? And I was very proud of that position. It was the highest position of any person of color in the history of the state. And I just hope that being in that position that we were able to have a positive impact. Okay? In New York State.
Now you're being coined an advocate for liberal causes. What does that mean? Tell
Well,
me about that.
some people say that issues pushing for improvement in minorities, services to minorities, is a liberal cause. Okay? Anything that's off the normal that impacts on a population that people have just not considered might be considered a liberal cause. Whatever persons want to think of certain issues, they might want to call it a liberal cause. But I like to think of it as improving the quality of life and opportunities for people.
Right. Let me ask you now. Today, 2014. The only daughter that you have that has kind of moved into to follow your footstep was Alicia. And
She's the only daughter I had.
The only daughter, okay.
Yeah, 5 children. She's the only girl.
Five kids, the only girl. Okay, and she had started the movement to become the next lieutenant governor under the Spitzer when he ran. It didn't happen.
The Spitzer.
For some reason or the other, I don't know if they were aware of the traction that she was making in the community towards that position. I think that folks were very not happy with the decision of Spitzer at the time. How did you take that? Now, what do you think of that move?
I thought it was a bad move. She was more than qualified and capable, and would have been a tremendous asset to the ticket. Not only women, but with minorities.
Right.
She brought in a double plus.
Right.
Okay, and I never understood why Spitzer did not take her on the ticket.
Well, I think the thing is that how come he didn't see what was happening in the community, the kind of traction she was making, and the women that were behind her, who wanted to see that kind of a change, wanted to see a woman and also a minority. Clinton ran against President Obama, folks were happy for that change. Some women went, showed their support for Hillary because they thought that, well, now is the time for a woman. However, there was another component, another group that says, no, I think we need to go for a black man, a man of color, before going for a woman. It is now, Hillary is now running, actually, she's not running. It is said that she might be running for the next presidential position. Do you think that America is ready for a woman, a white woman, or do you think they're ready for a black woman?
No, I think America is ready for a capable woman.
Okay, I hear that.
Okay, a capable woman, and a woman who can provide leadership. And I think Hillary has had the experience, and also working with her husband, Bill Clinton, who my son Eric used to work for. His picture,
Right.
Eric and Bill Clinton.
Yes.
And so I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I think she has the equal opportunity as anyone else to be president.
Do you think that Alicia might consider running as her running mate in the next election?
I can't.
No, we'll have two. We'll have, we have it all right there on the platter. We have a white woman, capable. We have a black woman as vice president, very capable. So that would be an awesome ticket.
Yeah, it certainly
Can
would
you see
be.
that happen?
I just don't see two women. I think if a woman candidate for president, then have to be a man for vice president.
Why does it have to be a man? Are there certain areas in the realm of a presidential?
I think it's a woman for president is hard for a lot of people to take. I can live with it, but a lot of people couldn't live with it, and so I think she would be best suited coming up with a man for vice president.
Well, you think even the fact that she has been, she showed herself at another capacity in the President Obama's administration as she was what was the position? She was what? What was the title?
Secretary of State.
Secretary of State. Do you think that she hasn't proved herself that she can, deal with the issues in the foreign outside of the United States?
I'm sure with appropriate staff is very important to anyone who's making decisions. I was blessed with excellent staff. My staff director came down, him and his wife, for the affair today from Albany, and I was very happy to see them. But I think the proper man would make a good partner for Hillary.
Uh-huh. So, am I hearing that you can endorse her as the next president?
I've got to see who's running against her. If there's someone who's getting out there that I don't think has the skill and the knowledge and experience that she has, that I'm prepared to support her. And knowing that her husband, Bill Clinton, is one of the best political minds there is in the world, and he was very helpful to candidates running for governor and everything else. And his influence in elections in America has been phenomenal.
Let me ask you, there's a picture in the back of you. Who's that young lady? Is that a member of your household or?
No, when I ran for office the first time, I ran for the state senate against a powerful Republican, and I was out looking for support of people in the community who were respected, and she was literally the main only person who had a good reputation who was willing to endorse me. Her name is Geneva B. Scruggs. But when you're out there and you're looking for support, you're trying to get names of people who are respected. And when I ran for the assembly after I lost that, having the support, she was a Republican, having the support and public endorsement of Jim Bell, who owned a dry cleaner in the community, Jim Bell's Cleaners. He was a Republican. And that's why I tell young people who are running for public office, don't run away from people who've got credibility if they're with the other party. If they're respected in the community, then you should try to get their support. And so I remember Jim Bell was very upset of this fellow who I campaigned for very hard, and I used to own the Buffalo Challenger, which was the largest black newspaper in Buffalo, and I had him in there every week, Arthur Hardwick, and then he came out for the guy I was running against, and Jim Bell later on said, if you run against Arthur Hardwick, I'll put up all the money you need. And Arthur Hardwick later on married Shirley Chisholm, who was a very well-known black female politician. But but I think running for the Senate and he having lost that gave me the foundation for Jim Bell to support me. And he said, if you run against Arthur Hardwick, I'll put up all the money you need. Okay. And that's him with the red shirt. That's his brothers. That's his brothers. He's right here by my side still. And that's him right under the
Now you also ran for mayor
Yeah.
of Buffalo. What was that experience like?
I ran against a very powerful white politician. His name was Jimmy Griffin. And campaign had a good black turnout, but Jimmy's combined strength, blacks were minorities in the election population.
Here in, are they coming? Are they voting? Are they registering?
I think they're registering, and when I used to run for office, I used to go door to door, and a lot of politicians don't do that anymore. They don't knock on people's doors and talk to them individually. Okay, I used to do that all over my district, and people like that. People like you coming and asking them.
Yeah, they want to know who the person is.
That's right.
Yeah, they want to see you face to face, not
That's right.
not on television.
That's right.
Yeah. So would you like to see one of your other sons or your daughter, your only daughter, get back into politics?
Well, she was in it before. My son Eric, the one that's up there with Bill Clinton, he was deputy for a controller in New York City, and he's very, very knowledgeable. My son Malcolm X, who's there with Barack Obama, works for his administration as an aide to the Secretary of Agriculture, and he's traveled around the world with the Secretary of Agriculture.
What other changes you would like to see that you weren't able to accomplish during your time in assembly? What would you like to
I'd
see?
like to see the people in the city work together totally. And I like to see the communities of color come together, black and Hispanic, and work together more and help both groups to rise up and be a more effective force in the political community.
No, your friend Charlie Rangel just came through another successful campaign, but he's now facing a very strong Hispanic group population. Do you see that the Hispanics are going to be a group to be reckoned with?
Well,
Do you think that the black community are now realizing that I need to get out and be registered? I need to be more active politically?
that's right. That's always a number one agenda. You gotta have people registered. That's something I believed in 1,000%, and I used to go door to door and register people myself, even as a candidate. And when you're out there, you can set an example for your supporters if you're out there knocking on doors and registering people, if you're walking the streets and running up into people and registering them. And I never asked anybody in my campaign to do anything I wouldn't do. And so I always went out and was an example of what they needed to do. And so doing voter registration was one of the most important things you can do in the campaign.
Yeah, I think it was very successful during the President Obama's first election.
Yes.
But the second one, for some reason, that was not as forcefully penetrating the community to get out and register voters. Do you see where, what can we do to bring out the folks to come and register?
I think folks in leadership positions have to be a shining example by getting out there and providing the leadership an example of going door to door with the volunteers.
My guest today is former Deputy Speaker Arthur Eve, and here in Buffalo for the naming of a building in his honor. That's for the Arthur O. Eve Economic
Educational Opportunities Center. Yeah.
Here in Buffalo. Thanks for watching. This is Beryl Edgecombe, host and executive producer for Dan Behavior. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been
I'm
a
honored.
pleasure.